because it affected so many of us along the East Coast, and the aftermath is still being felt. So it did a number, particularly on the beaches of New Jersey and the houses in low-lying areas there. So this is the borough of Tuckerton, that's north of Atlantic City. Wind speeds topped out at about 50 miles per hour. That is just below hurricane strength, but man, it made driving difficult. So you can see how the ocean water roared into this residential neighborhood. It really swamped the cars there. There's going to be a lot of flooding in these basements and some houses. So of course, it'll be a long recovery for the folks here who are going to have to dry out. Then let's go to Seaside Park. So many people know this community. It's a real fun, amusement type area for kids and teenagers that have been going there forever. This is what it looked like on the beach there. And guys, apparently it took a huge amount of sand from Seaside Park. Erosion is always a problem along beaches, but one person witness there reported that there was no beach left after this weekend. So beach replenishment is going to have to come, well, either from the state or the Army Corps of Engineer. So, they truck in sand from other beaches. We have team coverage of this. We have one of our favorite guests, Jay Vitale. He's in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, I believe. Jay's company, AquaServe, provides lifeguards. Later, we're going to talk to Alex Silva. Also, Jay, thanks for being here. How's the beach looking where you are?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So similar to the images you just showed, because we're still experiencing the tail end of this storm, the water level's still really high. So there's always initially, after storms like this, especially when we just finished such a massive beach replenishment project, there's always a ton of concern just visually at what looks to be a severe lack of beach. And there certainly was a significant amount of erosion. But it's going to take the next couple of days for us to see what happens when the water level really comes down, to see what the actual beach face looks like post-storm. The image you're showing now is from yesterday, just around high tide. You can see there's really nothing left at the moment with how high that water level is. There's a bit of dune erosion going on. And as the camera pans there on the left, where you can see those houses off on the west side of the dune compared to the waves, you get a real sense for exactly how big and powerful the rush of water coming in is. So we've definitely lost beach, and it's definitely going to be a concern. But it'll be a couple days till we get a really good finger on the pulse of specifically what that equates to.
Hoping no water rescues you had to do this time of year, Jay?
No, thankfully, because we're out of season now and the air temp has dropped down into the 60s, Mother Nature is our best deterrent. So it's not a nice beach day. The water temp's starting to drop down. So nothing that I've heard of yet from up and down the Barrier Island, but I'll be really surprised if we hear of anything problematic that went on during the worst of this. So I think we're in good standing.
So you didn't see any wannabe surfers or anything out there?
No, and that's a great point, because everyone usually equates, all right, waves are going to be big. We have a storm coming in. There's going to be surfers littering the water up, down, left, right, and center. The problem is when you have a storm like a hurricane or a nor'easter, in the peak of it, there's such a disorganization in the ocean. It's nearly impossible to plot a good spot to try and catch a rideable wave. Leading out of the storm, as things are calming down, is when it gets really fun. Especially during a nor'easter, traditionally following a heavy storm, we'll have a really nice wind switch. The wind will turn offshore, come out of the west, start shaping those waves up. And if I can get my old butt out of bed and nothing's hurting too bad, I will very likely be out there tomorrow morning.
That's a good tip, Jay. So we all remember Superstorm Sandy, which was, now more than a decade ago, and the devastation that brought to New Jersey, as well as other places on the East Coast. So if that was a 10, how does this storm compare to that?
I don't want to insult our nor'easters. So I was in Point Pleasant through the duration of Sandy, and I would put this somewhere around a 3. But hurricanes or tropical storms and nor'easters are really different in kind of an interesting way. So when you have a hurricane, it's generating force from warm water coming up from the tropics. Its path is usually fairly predictable to forecast. And we know generally, living in these areas and from a lifeguarding perspective, because all lifeguards are junior meteorologists, We know that we're going to see some downgrade as it gets closer. There's a lot of travel. By the time they get to us, they're usually not as severe as initially predicted. Nor'easters are a whole different animal. And the reason they happen this time of year is the air north of us is cooling off, but we still have that tropical air coming in from the south. So when those two forces hit, it just creates a really high level of turbulence. Everyone thinks about storms two-dimensionally. It's traveling from here to here. There's a three-dimensional element to it. When hot air and cold air mix, there's a massive shift in height, and it causes these very quick, very erratic, very powerful storms. So nor'easters are definitely not to be trifled with, but Superstorm Sandy, 100-year storm, I'm hoping we don't see that again for another 90.
We
Yeah.
hope you are right. Jay, thanks so much. Excellent work as always. Love having Jay live on the shore. All right, let's bring in
Jay
AccuWeather
is so good.
meteorologist.
I just
Yeah.
want to stop for 1 second. Jay called himself a junior meteorologist. I think if with hard work he can get there because he is really good at understanding these weather patterns. And also, I would
he's
just
amazing.
listen to Jay. I would listen to Jay say water all day long.
Oh yeah, it's that Jersey Shore / Philly water.
Yes,
No, he is a
water.
gem. He is
Yeah.
an absolute gem.